What's going on, guys? It is Bucky and welcome to your 30-second iPhone development tutorial. And in this tutorial, well, before I even talk to you guys about that, I just want to let you know that I haven't created a tutorial in like a week, so I might forget a few things. And if I do, don't leave me hate comments unless you absolutely need to. Then go ahead and leave me some hate comments. But anyways, stick with me and maybe you'll learn something. So the first thing we need to do is synthesize our outlets, which is singlePecker. And we also need to synthesize with an @ sign. That's a little better. See, I'm messing up already. Synthesize picker array. So the single picker is pretty much the picker itself, and the picker array is pretty much the array we're creating a picker from. So in case you forgot, what we're going to be doing is taking an array and creating a picker from it. So our picker is pretty much going to be a visual representation of the array. So we'll be doing that later, but anyways, the first thing we need to do is implement this method. So go ahead, copy that, and paste it right at the top. And this is what happens whenever you press that button. And all we want to do is whatever thing you selected in the picker, we just want to send out an alert or something, anything really. So here's how pickers work. We automatically had a date one from last time, but we don't really have any automatic thing to make it, so we got to make it ourselves. So the individual wheels in the picker, we're only going to have one this time, but they're not called wheels like I've been calling them. The term they're actually called is components. So each wheel is called a component, and we only have one in this tutorial, so we're going to index it at 0. So our component is 0. And aside from wheels, we also have a bunch of different rows. And each thing in your component, like each name in this case, is called a row. So in order to get something from a picker, you just got to say what component or what wheel it's at and what row it's at. So this is pretty much the coordinates for a picker. So ns integer, let's go ahead and see what row do we want to get. We pretty much are selecting our item first. So in our single picker, because you only have one picker on the screen, selected row and component 0. So this means in our wheel 0, it's the only row we have, get whatever row they select. So this will return the selected row. So if it's the third item in the row, it's going to return 2 because it starts at 0, 0, 1, 2. That's the third. If it's the fifth item you select, it's going to return 4 as your integer. So that's pretty much how you get the selected row. Now what we want to do is take whatever object is at that row, which is pretty much a name of something, and store it in a string variable. So ns string, and just like put choice because this is what going to be what they choose. And remember, our picker is pretty much a visual representation of an array. So if you pick the fifth object in a row, or excuse me, in a component, it's going to be the fifth object in our array since they're one and the same. So let's just go ahead and for a picker array, object at index row. So if in this wheel you pick the object at row 6, it's going to be the 6th element in our picker array, and we're pretty much getting that element and storing it in a string variable called choice. Easy enough. So after we have the element, whatever we picked, what we want to do is we just want to put a basic alert on the screen. UI alert view, just name it alert as always, and just go ahead and set it equal to UI alert view, allocate some space with it, and initiate with title, and just hit tab, and just go ahead and put like T for title. And the message, you can put this in the title or the message, doesn't matter, it's just an example, but you're gonna output whatever choice they made. So that choice object right there. Now for the delegate, go ahead and press nil. The cancel button, go ahead and press cancel. That's a little better. And other button titles, go ahead and write nil. That's just housekeeping stuff. So what we did so far is we say, alright, what wheel do you want to be working with? And now that we have a wheel, we say, alright, whatever item they picked, find the corresponding item in the array, which we didn't create yet, but we will. It takes like 2 seconds, and get that object and get its string. Unless you're working with numbers, then you would want to do something else, but we're not. So, alright, so now we alerted it, and we got a alert show, and of course alert release. I hate how really gonna autofill in the wrong stuff for me. That's cool. Alright, release. So remember, anything you allocate, you need to release. So that's why we did that. So we're done with this method. All this method does is that. So the next thing we want to do is actually create the array. But where do you create it? Well, let's go ahead and create it in view did load. So this pretty much happens right at the beginning after your view is loaded. So when we create this array right after the view is loaded, then by the time they can choose anything and press the button, it's already going to create the array for them. So ns array, name your array anything. I'm going to name mine x because I don't have time to type any more letters than one. And go ahead and ns array, allocate some space for it, and init with objects. And go ahead and put like tuna spelled wrong, fish, apples, more tuna, and like pumpkins spelled totally wrong. And remember, the last thing in your array always has to be nil. So now we have pretty much an array of a bunch of strings. So now what we want to do is take our array variable right here and set it equal to x. So then they'll be one and the same. So self.picker array, which is pretty much our main variable that we're using for your array, equals x. So now whenever we use this, we're going to be able to use this all over a program since it's a global variable, and we won't be able to use x. So that's why we need to store this in here. So now that we are done with x, it's did its job. You see, we allocated it, so therefore we need to release it. So let's go ahead and put x release. So that's actually all the time I have in this tutorial, but in the next tutorial we're going to be actually building the picker right from code, and it's probably the most important tutorial yet. So make sure that you learn all this. Again, it's really simple. Right in here, what we're doing is whatever item we selected in the first wheel, we're storing it as an integer to index that choice, and then we're saying, alright, take that integer and find the corresponding element in your array. Easy enough. So then we pretty much just say whatever you selected, spit it out on an alert box, and here is where we create the actual array. Again, you should know how to create an array and pretty much take that array and store it in another array that we made earlier, and then once we're done with it, release it. So I mean, this all looks pretty good, and yeah. So actually, let me do this while I am. View did unload. What we want to do is no, not that. What we want to do is singlePecker, set this equal to nil. Set any of your outlets equal to nil. So self.picker array, set this equal to nil too. And you also on your void deallocate, you also want to give back all your memory. So we also had release that. So pretty much any outlets you have to set to nil and release them to. I know it's confusing, but picker array, and this doesn't have anything to do with the program itself, just memory for your iPod. So it just helps. Those are two simple rules. We'll be going over memory management in another tutorial, but just don't forget to do that. So that's that for this tutorial. Please watch the next tutorial. It'll teach you a whole bunch, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.